Hi, my name is Jesse Horn and I'm with the Turning Post. Today we're going to be turning a pepper mill out of a piece of wood, a walnut that is 3 inches by 3 inches by 12 inches long. Turning pepper mills is one of my favorite projects. It's something that adds beauty to your table and also enhances the flavor of your food. But before I get into doing that, I'd like to talk a little bit about safety. You need to read and understand the instructions of your lathe and also of your turning tools. One of the most important things to use is protect your eyes. Use a shield or glasses. Also, use a respirator. This dust gets into your lungs and it can really damage your lungs. Thank you very much, and let's get to turning. Before we get started, the first thing I'd like to emphasize is safety. Safety is very important as far as your health and as far as not getting hurt. One of the biggest things is wearing safety glasses. Your eyes, you need your eyes. And a piece of this wood can fly out if you don't have it set up just right, and it can come back and hurt you. Also, breathing this dust can damage your lungs. There are certain types of woods that you need to really check with also to see how they affect your breathing. Some people can have some reactions to them. In most cases, when I'm not giving a demonstration, I do wear a respirator and a major face shield. So, with that said, let's get started and let's make a pepper mill. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 3 inch by 3 inch by 12 inch piece of wood, and I'm going to find center. On both ends. And once I've done that, I'm going to take a hole punch, mark my center. And what I have here, I have my chuck set up already, but I've also got a 4-prong spur. So I'm going to turn this between centers, and I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to make a tenon. When I set up my tool support, I want to make sure that when I turn it first to make sure it's not going to hit. I center it just a little bit, or I set it just a little bit below center. And when I turn on my lathe, I'm going to stand off to the side in case it's not tightened down enough so it doesn't come back and hit me. I always try to start my lathe at 0. And then bring it up. I'm going to start from this one end down here. Start rounding it over. check it for round. I can hear that it's not round just yet, so I'll keep working it. I'm using a 3/4 inch roughing gown. I'm going to check it for round, and I can see where I need to work it a little bit more. Now that I have it round, I'm going to make a tenon on each side, on each end. And my tenon is going to be a quarter inch wide by 1 3/4 inch in diameter. Now, each chuck may be different. What you need to do is you got to look at, take a pair of calipers. You do not want the bottom right here to sit flush with the bottom of your jaws. You want to have a little bit of space in there. So I know that mine is 3/8 of an inch deep. So I'll make mine 1/4 of an inch deep. I'll take my calipers. I'll bring it down to 1 3/4. I want my chuck to be as tight as possible on my piece of wood. Now, I use a skew. You can use a parting tool. I'm going to go ahead and bring this down to 1 3/4 diameter. I want to try to keep my shoulder as square as possible. I come down to the other side, do the same. If you use this method of measurement, make sure you just touch it. Don't push down hard on it because it'll grab on you. I'm barely even touching it. There's my 1 3/4 of an inch. Now, what I want to do is, this is going to be my bottom, this is going to be my top. From here to here, I'm going to measure up for 8 3/4 inches. I want to mark, put an arrow to show the match of my top and bottom. I'm going to mark it, bottom, top. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a 1 3/4 inch tenon on the right side of my mark, using a 3/16 inch parting tool. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to part off the top and the bottom. carefully. I'm using a 1/16 inch parting tool, thin kerf. When you part, you peel. I think that's far enough. Now I'm going to get a saw. I want to cut it in half. This is the safest way of doing this. If you try to part it all the way off, it could come flying back out at you. All right, now we've got our two pieces, our two parts. I'll set this aside. I want to work on the bottom piece. First thing I want to do is take off my spur. Now I'm going to put this in from my bottom side. I'm going to start drilling my holes. Check for round. And tighten it up. You tighten both sides. I'm going to draw up my tailstock. You always draw up your tailstock whenever you can for extra added support. I'm going to square it up a little bit. Now I'm going to square up my side right here, my top. And to do that, I'm going to use a 3/8 inch spindle gouge. Try to get my tool rest in as close as possible. Make sure we're tight. Rubbing the bevel. I want to make sure I'm set just about center, a little bit below center. We'll square off this end. I don't have to go all the way to the middle because I'm going to have a Forstner bit that's going to take care of that. I want a little bit of a concave so that my top will fit on it flush when we assemble them. The first hole I'm going to drill is from the top of the bottom part of my pepper mill. It's going to be I make mine 1 3/8 of an inch, and you always start out with your biggest Forstner bit. If you don't, when you drill the small one and you try to set up your large one, it'll wobble on you and it won't be accurate. I turn my speed down to about 400 RPM. Now a 1/2 inch will probably be about the thickness of my Forstner bit. I firm this up a little bit, not tight because it's got to move. So I'll be straight, and then I'll go ahead, start making my cut. Okay, stop it, we'll check. Half inch. So it's pretty much the thickness of your Forstner bit. My next Forstner bit is going to be a 1 1/16 inch. And I'm just going to get it started. I'll take it down as deep as I can get it. I'll have to have an extension. Gently. Start turning. I want to keep this as smooth as I possibly can. Keep it from being off center. Clear. Continue. Clear it. If you don't clear it, you'll cause it to probably go off center. You'll also cause it to burnish, and you'll dull your router bit, your Forstner bit. Okay, that's about as deep as I can go. Turn it off. Bring it back as far as I can. Now I've got a 1/16 inch Forstner bit on an extension. First thing I'm going to do, I know from this point, this is my bottom, up, I'm going to have 2 inches for drilling on my Forstner bit. So I'll mark that. I do not want my 1 1/16 inch Forstner bit to go all the way through, and the reason is because I'm going to have to come back with a 1 3/4 and a 1 9/16 inch Forstner bit, and it won't be centered. So I'm going to take it down to about this point right here. I'll mark it, and that doesn't have to be perfect. I'll mark my point, insert it, tighten it up. Now I will continue until I get to this point from right here. This is where you really take your time, because this is where it can really throw it off center. Clear it. Continue. And using walnut is just a beautiful piece of wood, and it really makes your table look nice, especially if you get a real nice piece of walnut. And what I like to do, I like to use walnut for my pepper or some other dark wood, and then use maple or another light colored wood as my salt grinder. I get confused kind of easy, so I don't want to get my pepper and salt mixed up. Make sure that you have sharp Forstner bits. That really helps. Now I'm getting kind of close. Okay, I'm there. Pull it out. And now the last thing I want to do before I remove this and turn it around, I'm going to check to make sure that this, I want a little concave on it. Doesn't have to be much, and I just want to take it down just a little bit more. And to do that, I'll use my 3/8 inch spindle gouge. Check it. Just where I want it. A little bit of a contour. And now I'll remove this. Dust it out. So now that I've taken my pepper mill out, I've got to make a jam chuck that fits into the top part of this. This is 1 3/8 of an inch, so I want to put my spur back in. Tighten it up. Mark my center. Get my revolving center. Draw up my tailstock. And now, I'm going to make my jam chuck. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a tenon that goes into my chuck. Not all too bad. So let's square it up. Again, know your chuck. And I'm going to make a 1/4 inch tenon. That's going to be 1 3/4 inch deep in diameter. Now that I have that, I'll remove it. Again, take out my put it in my chuck. I will square it up. It's always a good habit to get into is squaring up that front end, your front. Now, I know there's a depth. I know that my depth right here is a 1/2 inch. So I'll probably make mine 3/8. And I said it's 1 3/8 of an inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up for 1 1/2 of an inch. 1 1/2 inches in diameter. Or maybe 7/16. 1 7/16. I will take down this first front of it, the front of it. Just in case I take it down too much, I won't waste that much wood. Okay. Now I'll take the rest of it down to that point. shoulder as square as possible so it rests on my chuck. Now, I'm going to start fitting this. I want it to fit snug, but not too snug. So I'm going to start with this front part right here. This is where it takes patience. Check it. Still not there. A little bit more. I'm taking down this front part right here because if I get it too thin or too small, I've still got that back piece that I can tighten it up with. Still a little bit big. You can always take off wood, but you can't put it back on. Take patience, it's just patience. Oh, that's a little bit thin for me. That's a little bit loose. So when I take this side down, I won't make it quite as deep. Check it. Still not quite. Just check it. Just gotta take your time and check it, because it doesn't take much. That's almost perfect. A little bit more on this back side. Okay, now we're there. What I'm going to do is, I'll bring up my tailstock. I got my center. Bring up the tailstock. And firm it on. Now that is a good fit. Now we'll take a look, see. A little bit off. Okay, well, let's just go ahead and kind of square it up a little bit. To do that, I'm going to go ahead and just use my skew. The skew is the kind of tool that you either hate it or you love it. There are certain things I like to use a skew for. Gives it a nice cut. Now that I have that squared up, I want to take off this tenon right here. And to do that, I'm going to switch this out. Now when you're working with something like this, take your time. Take little bites. Follow the bevel. I'm not too worried about this little piece right here because I'll be able to take it off with my Forstner bit. But I do want to check. I want to check to see, I want a little bit of a concave. Not quite enough. I want to set flat on my table. Now let's check it. Perfect. That's all I want. Just a little bit of a concave. Now, what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be using a couple of Forstner bits to go through the other side. Now, I'm going to take this piece off gently. Gently. All you have here is a jam chuck, and it doesn't take much for it to come off. So a little bitty bite. Now that I've got this down where I want it, I want to sand this and try to finish this out because I may not have a chance to get to it again. So probably I would have to use 80 grit, but I'm going to go ahead and use 80 grit, smooth it out, and I'll take it down to about 400 or 600 grit. Doesn't take much. $400. Now my 600. Make it smooth. This is something that's going to go on your table. You need to appreciate it. And when you look at it, you want to feel proud. You did this. Again, I'm going to drop my speed down to less than 500 RPMs, in between 400 and 500. I have my 1 3/4 inch Forstner bit. And I will take it down to 5/8 of an inch in depth, which is going to be a little bit wider than the head here of my Forstner bit. Gently. Remember, that's all you have is this is holding it to this end right here. This is why we took it. We're running the 16th almost all the way through from the other end because you had a tenon to work with. Here you don't. Clear it. Okay, pull it out. Let's check it. I'm happy. Good. Okay, now we'll take out 1 3/8. And I'll put in my 1 9/16. So it's 1 3/8. I don't think so. That would be a big mistake we don't need. So I got my 1 9/16. This is so that I'm going to be, when I put in my hardware, this is the room we're going to have at the very bottom, and then this part is where my hardware is going to seat. This will go in to a total of about 2 inches. And so my 2-inch mark, the total will be 2 inches from the very bottom. For the 5/8 inch mark, it would be 1 3/8. So gently, we'll take it in this mark. Don't be scared to clear it. Clear it. Mark. Right there. All right. Now, we will take our 1 1/16 and feed it all the way through. Now it should meet where the other one ended. And you'll feel it go through. You'll feel that. There it is. Went through. Perfect. All right. So now, really the toughest part is over, which is all this drilling. Okay, now I've got it all complete. It's all drilled out. Sometimes you're going to find that you're going to be perfect when you drill all the way through. So I just take a file and I kind of get that one area. It's not much. File it down. It's not going to bother anything. I just don't like it. There. Now we're ready to go. The bottom is done. So the next thing we have to do is we make a jam chuck for the bottom. Now I've already got my jam chuck made, so I cheated a little bit. But I make enough of these that I needed to have one, so I've always got one. Pepper mills are probably about one of the most fun things to turn. They're easy really to sell because people like a good pepper mill. I had one guy that came up to me whom I sold a pepper mill to, and he had bought 4 of them, I think, from Walmart, and he was all disappointed. And so he bought one for me because he didn't want to have to go down. And I guess he said in 1 year, or I think it was in 1 year, he had purchased 4 of them. And he got tired of purchasing them. So he bought one for me. And one thing about these pepper mills, the mechanisms, they have a 25-year warranty on them. They're made out of hardened ceramic, and they do last as long as you take care of them. So now, what happens sometimes is if you do have an area, if this down here is too loose, you can use some paper towels, tighten it up, firm it up. Make sure. There we go. Now my customer, she wants a certain profile. So we're going to try to duplicate this profile. She wants something that's very simple. And so this one, first of all, we got to make this 2 5/8 of an inch thick. So the way I do that is get out my trusty calipers. Two 5/8, right about there. I want my base to be wide enough. I want it wide enough to where it doesn't fall. It's stable. And I think we're almost there. So again, we get to a peeling mode. One. There's 2. So now I'm going to get my roughing gouge and take it all down. I'm more concerned down here at the bottom than I am at the top because I want to take out that top. So now just take it, check it, gently. Get a little high. There we go. Now I know this is going to be 1 inch. I usually make it 2 inches from the bottom. This is where my base is normally. I like a stout base. We mark it. My very top up here, the diameter is going to be 1 and about 3/4 of an inch. We'll take this down a little bit. I'm not going to take down a lot of it. I don't want to use part of it. That's good. So now we can profile. I'm using a 5/8 inch spindle gouge. Okay. What I try to do with the pepper mill, I try to make it ergonomically pleasing to fit a young lady's hand. Since she's got the smaller of the hand. Well, I think I ran out a little bit of a battery. Had a battery problem, and we missed pretty much the profiling of this pepper mill. So the only thing I don't think you caught on the part that you missed was making a jam chuck for the bottom of the pepper mill, bringing up my tailstock, bringing this thickness down to 2 5/8 all the way down. Then I brought my very top of the bottom part of my pepper mill down to about 1 3/4 of an inch. Then I started profiling. And sometimes when you profile, it may not come out exactly the way you like it or the way you had it designed, but it comes out even better than what you thought it might come out. And this is what happened with me. I do like this, and you might have a few areas that might have little holes in them. So what you do, there's a way to fix that. Get a little bit of wood glue, put it in this area that you need to fill. And now I'll sand it down with 120 grit. And what will happen is that the dust will fill in this area right here. This is where you really need a respirator, because you want to be breathing this, especially walnut. Especially walnut. A lot of people are allergic to walnut and have problems breathing. I'm not going to take you through all my sanding steps, so I'm going to sand this out and come right back to you. Okay, now that we've got our bottom finished, now it's time to start on the top. So what we'll do is we pull it out gently. And now this is the profile of our bottom. And one thing to remember is when you're turning and you're sanding, your grain goes this way and you're going against that grain, so you're going to have marks on it. So what you do with each grit, before you go to the next grit, you sand with the grain, taking out those scratches, and then you go to your next grit. So we have this one done. So now we're going to go to our top. So remember, this is the very top. Pull out the jam chuck. And now remember, we had that tenon that we put on that very, very top. We'll put it in here. And what I look for whenever I tighten up, when I make my tenon, I look at the spacing in here. The tighter you can get that, the better it is. It keeps it more stable. It clamps down on it better. Make sure you're tight. And now, first thing we're going to do, run smooth, true. Take out, put on our small one. Make sure it's not hitting. Now we're going to true it up. You don't have to take off much. Just take off a little. And get rid of my ridges. Be careful not to hit your chuck. Okay. Now, part right here is 1 3/8, but you never know. I always check. I use digital calipers. I check my width. And it's 1 3/8. We want a fairly tight fit right now while we're turning it. We'll loosen up a little later on. Now we know the depth here is 1/2 inch. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it 3/8 of an inch. So I'll mark down 3/8 of an inch. I want to save as much of this wood as I can to make it easy for make my top. Make my mark. Use a skew or your parting tool. We take it down to, I'm going to take it down just a little bit over 1 3/8. Try it right here. I want to clean up the bottom. Check the fit. A little tight. Now, again, patience. It's not making a jam chuck. So let's just take it down little by little. Almost. A little bit more. A little bit more. Not much. I want a tight fit. There. That's a good tight fit. Now what I want to do, I want a little concave. Not much, just a little. This should be it. Perfect. Now I'm going to draw up a tailstock for added support. Let's just check it out, make sure it's running true, which it is. So now you've got some decisions to make. What do you want to do to your top up here? You have, really, you're looking at about, I want to have 2.5 inches to play with. I'm going to measure mine out. I want to leave a little bit on that top, so I got okay. So first thing I'm going to do, we have to drill our holes here too. I should have done that before I did this. So sometimes I get a little excited and I'm ready to go. Take this out. Take this off. Now, this middle part in here is going to be 1 1/16. One 1/16. We're going to go 1/2 inch deep. So again, 1/2 inch is pretty much the width of this head. So let's back this thing down a little bit to about 500 RPM. Start drilling. I like to firm this up a little bit so it goes straight. Take your time with your drilling. Okay, just check it. Not quite a 1/2 inch yet. A little bit more. Let's try that. A little goes a long way. A little bit more. That should get it right there. And now we'll go with 15/16, which is this one. And we will go a total of 1 3/4 inch deep. So I'll make my measurement, which is right here. I like to make my marks. And let's drill it. Drill her out. This is where your top part's going to go in. It's going to be seated. Even though I had it marked at 1 3/4, I still always check it. I just want to make sure. I'm about 1 5/8. So my mark should be right. Let's take it on in. Boom, there we are. 1 3/4. Double check. A little bit more. That's it, got it. Got it. All right, now the fun part of drilling is all through. Now we get to form it again. We're going to form the top. Now, what do we want for the top? Well, I'm kind of one of those, I like the rounded top, and my customer likes the rounded top. So we're going to do a rounded top. But you can do about anything you want. I've made some lighthouse pepper mills. I've made the Space Needle pepper mill. Change those tops around a little bit, and you can have a square top. So what I'm going to do here, first I want to get my parting tool, and I want to part this down here where I got some room to work with it. Okay, we said this right here is 2 1/4. I'm sorry, 2 1/2. So half of that is 1 1/4. Make our mark. But do we want to have I want to put a little rib down here. And so I'm going to make it probably, we'll try 1/4 inch right now. So I want to take it down to where this is 1 3/4, make it marry it up. Okay, take your parting tool. So I took off that 1/4 inch, that leaves me with 2 1/4, which changes this up here to 1 1/8. So, go 1 1/8. That's my center point. So now I'm going to round over this bead. That's all you're doing is making a bead. Start right here. When you make a bead, I'm going right, so I'm right of dead center on that cutting edge right here. And as I make that bead, I bring up my right hand, bringing it up as I'm turning, bring it on over, and bring it around. Same thing, now I can cut it a little bit tighter. Bring it around. Here. Then bring it around. Bring it around. Other side, same thing. Bring it around. Bring it around. Now you say to yourself, do you want to leave it like that, or do you want to put like a bead on it? Or do something else like maybe even a code? Well, as I look at that, I want to take it down a little bit more, I think. Okay. Well, since we spoke, and I took a quick break, I decided to put a 3/16" bead on this. And then I guess I won't. Let me try an 8. Let's go with an 1/8" bead. See how that works. Okay. Clean it up a little bit. I like that. I think I'm going to go with that. Now I'm going to sand it off. I'm going to sand it down, and when I get it all sanded, I'll come back. Alright, I'm back again. I've got this finished out now. Now comes the time to decide on how you want to part this off. There's a couple of ways of doing this. You can part it off here, and you can use pin jaws on the inside to expand it, to hold it, so you can clean it up on the outside. Or you can make another jam chuck. Personally, I like to make a jam chuck, and the reason is because I don't want the jaws on the inside. I don't want to see that. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a thin parting tool and part this off. Make sure it doesn't hit. So I've got my 1/16" parting tool. When parting these off, don't take it all the way through because it'll get stuck on you. So what you do is you widen it up a little bit. Now we got it parted off. Since I do a lot of these, I already have a jam chuck made because I always make them the same. So I'll put my jam chuck in here, Check it to make sure it's running square, running true, which it is. So now I'll bring up, when you put these on, your jam chuck needs to be tight, but not so tight to where it splits it. Check it for true, true, true. Now, understand, again, you're on a jam chuck. You do have some support, but not much. I can't really bring up my tailstock because I don't want an indentation in here. So, you take little bitty bites. Little bitty bites. Bring around that bead. Bring it on around. Bring this on around. Screw it up. Done. Again, I'm gonna go ahead and sand this. Well, I'm back. Well, we've got it all sanded down now. Now all we have to do is put the finish on it and put the hardware on it, and we're ready to go. It's ready to work. So, I'm going to say goodbye to you right now, and should hopefully have this done tomorrow. And when I get this thing done tomorrow, we'll see what it looks like. Thank you all for joining in. I'll see you tomorrow. Welcome back, and I have finally got this finished. Since the last time we spoke, I finished this with 4 coats of wipe-on polyurethane, and I also put 1 coat of polyurethane on the inside channel to seal up the inside to keep it from getting any moisture in it. The mechanism that I used right here has got a 25-year warranty on it against any defects, and it has a hardened ceramic gears, cutters, and which is awesome. I've had mine, the one I have, I've had for, gosh, 8 years now. I changed the top just a little bit. I made it a little bit smaller. It's about 2.5 inches in diameter, and it fits perfectly. I put the hardware in using epoxy. You just got to be careful not to get it on any of the working mechanism. And whenever you're putting in the stem here, from the top to the stem, you got to leave about 1 1/8 inch. That's enough for it to go into the top. Now, we're ready. It's ready for use, ready to put on your table, and ready to enjoy your pepper. I want to thank you all for joining me today and going through this instructional video. I hope you got something out of it. If there's any questions I can answer, please don't hesitate to contact me. It should be down in the description below. I will be offering classes in 2024. I've already got 4 classes set up, for one in March, April, May, and June. I will be offering a pepper mill class on March 23rd, which is a Saturday, at the Woodcraft store in Oklahoma City. They're located on North May and Britton Road, and the class will be from 9 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. This gives you the opportunity to expand your creativity, come up with some awesome profile for your pepper mill that will just make your table present your table. If you're interested in this class, please contact Woodcraft at 405-748-8844. If you've liked this, please like and subscribe to this channel, which is located down in my description below. And I want to wish you all a blessed day, and I hope to see some of you all in my classes. Thank you.